Jiho Kim walked slowly down the long hallway of the Galactic Council building. His black shoes made soft sounds on the shiny floor. After 20 years as Earth's main diplomat, he knew these halls well. Today felt different. Today, he carried bad news. The big doors opened to the main chamber. Jiho took a deep breath. Around him, the room rose up like a giant bowl. Hundreds of seats held beings from across the galaxy. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had too many eyes or arms that bent in strange ways. All were now looking at him. Jiho stepped to the center platform. It rose up, lifting him so all could see. "Members of the council," he said, his voice strong and clear. "I come before you with grave news." The room grew quiet. Even the Mukari, who always whispered among themselves, fell silent. 3 days ago, ships from the Tellurian Empire attacked human colonies on Proxima b, Terra Nova, and New Horizon. Images appeared in the air above him. Burning buildings, crashed ships, bodies in the streets. These attacks killed over 5,000 humans. Many were not soldiers, but families. Children. A low murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates looked shocked. Others exchanged worried glances. For 100 years, humans have been peaceful members of this community. We have shared our art, our science, our friendship. We have followed the rules of the council. Jiho's voice grew harder. The Tellurian Empire has broken those rules. They have attacked without reason. They have killed those who could not fight back. From the Tellurian section, a tall figure stood. The Tellurian representative was nearly 7 feet tall. Its body looked like a mix of a praying mantis and a human. Its green outer shell gleamed under the lights. "The human exaggerates," it said, clicking its mouthparts. "This was just a small border problem. The colonies were too close to our space lanes." Admiral Sunmi Park sat with the other humans in their section. Her face stayed calm, but her eyes were sharp as she watched the Tellurian speak. She wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's space fleet with gold marks showing her high rank. Sunmi had warned the council about the Tellurians a year ago. No one had listened. Humans were seen as the new species, still finding their place among the stars. The Tellurians were old and respected, with many friends in the council. "A border problem?" Jiho asked, his voice cold. "Killing children is not how we solve border problems." The Varaxian delegate, an old species known for its wisdom, raised a hand to speak. The being's skin was pale blue with white hair that seemed to float around its head. "What does Earth ask of the council?" the Varaxian asked. Jiho looked across the room, meeting many eyes. "We ask that the council name the Tellurian Empire as breaking the peace. We ask for help to protect our other worlds. And we ask that those who planned these attacks be handed over to face justice." The Tellurian made a sound like rocks in a grinder. "You ask too much, human. Your species is still young. You do not understand how things work here." Sunmi watched as Jiho's shoulders straightened. She had seen this look before. Jiho was known for being kind and patient, but there was steel in him. "Then let me help you understand something," Jiho said. His voice was now quiet, but somehow it filled the room better than when he had been louder. "Humans have been peaceful for 100 years because we chose to be, not because we forgot how not to be." The room grew very still. "Earth was not always united," Jiho continued. "For most of our history, we fought each other. We became very, very good at war. When we finally found peace among ourselves, we put those skills aside. We hoped never to need them again." He looked directly at the Tellurian. "You have mistaken our desire for peace as weakness. This is a deadly mistake." In the human section, Sunmi opened a small computer on her wrist. A message from Earth Command was waiting. "Fleet activation approved. Return to Earth immediately." "The Tellurian Empire has 20 Earth days to meet our demands," Jiho said. "After that, we will take steps to protect our people." The Tellurian made a noise that might have been a laugh. "You threaten us? Your ships are few, your weapons are simple. The Empire has stood for 1,000 years." Jiho didn't answer right away. He looked at the faces around the room. Many were worried. Some looked sorry. A few looked eager to see. What would happen? This is not a threat, Jiho finally said. This is a warning. From a friend to the galaxy. He pressed a button on the platform. New images appeared in the air. Earth's history of war. Ancient armies with spears and swords. Tanks rolling across fields. Cities burning. Ships firing across oceans. And then the worst weapons. The bombs that had nearly ended human civilization. We do not wish to bring this part of ourselves to the stars, Jiho said softly. But make no mistake, we remember how to wage war, and the galaxy has forgotten what that means. Sunmi stood up. It was time to go. Earth would need her now. As she walked to the exit, she heard the chamber burst into loud voices, some calling for peace, others arguing that humans were overreacting. They didn't understand yet. But they would. In the hallway, she met Jiho coming out of the chamber. It didn't go well, he said. It went as expected, Sunmi replied. The Tellurians think they're dealing with farmers and scientists. And are they wrong? Jiho asked. Sunmi's eyes were hard as she looked back at the closing doors. Every human is a farmer or scientist or artist or teacher until they need to be something else. The Tellurians just woke up to something else. Jiho nodded. I have one more meeting. Then I'll return to Earth. I leave within the hour, Sunmi said. The old ships are being brought back online. The defense plans we hoped never to use are now active. They stood quietly for a moment. Two humans far from home carrying the weight of what was to come. They have no idea, do they? Jiho finally said. What happens when humans go to war? No, Sunmi said. But they will. The great shipyards around Earth had been quiet for many years. They made science ships and colony ships vessels for peace and growth. Now they blazed with light and activity at all hours. War had come to humanity again. Admiral Sunmi Park stood at the wide window of Earth Command Station. Below her, the blue-green planet turned slowly. Above, the shipyards looked like strings of bright pearls against the blackness of space. How many ships do we have ready now? She asked. Commander Taewon Lee stood beside her. He was tall and thin, with careful eyes that missed nothing. His uniform was crisp, but dark circles under his eyes showed he had not slept much. 35 combat-ready ships as of this morning, he said. 10 more will be ready by tomorrow. Sunmi nodded. And the older ships? The ones from storage are being checked and updated. We have 200 that can fight soon. A worker floated by outside the window, guiding a large panel toward a half-built ship. Around the worker, small robots moved like busy insects, welding and cutting and building. The Tellurians think they have months before we can fight back, Sunmi said. They don't understand how fast humans can change when we must. Taewon looked down at his tablet. They have 500 ships, Admiral. And we will have more, she said. Her voice was calm and sure. Every factory on Earth and the inner colonies is now making what we need. The people are ready. Far below, in a small town in what had once been called Korea, Min Ho Kang closed his restaurant for the last time. A sign on the door read, "Closed until peace returns." Min Ho had been a cook all his life. His restaurant was famous for its good food and warm welcome. But 20 years ago, he had been something else, a soldier. Now that old life called him back. He walked to the town's meeting hall. Inside, many others waited. Some were young, with nervous eyes. Some were older, quiet and serious. All had come to help. I didn't think I would wear this again, Min Ho said to the woman next to him as they were given uniforms. Her name was Hyun Yoon. In normal times, she taught children. About stars and planets, none of us did, she said. But here we are. They were not the only ones. Across Earth and its closest colonies, millions of humans were changing from their peaceful lives to prepare for war. Doctors and farmers, teachers and builders, all stepping forward, all remembering skills they had hoped never to use again. Space far from Earth, Do-hyun Choi worked in the fields of New Seoul Colony. The planet was beautiful, with purple plants and 2 small moons. Here, Humans had built a new home. A sound made him look up. Ships flew overhead. Earth ships moving fast. More had been coming each day since the attack on the other colonies. Do-hyun's wife Soo-jin came to stand beside him. "Will they attack here too?" she asked. "They might," Do-hyun said. "But we will be ready." That night, Do-hyun joined the colony's defense meeting. The colony leader, an older woman named Mi-cha-han, spoke to the crowded room. "Earth is sending ships and weapons," she said. "But we must also protect ourselves. The Tellurians think we are easy targets. We will show them they are wrong." Do-hyun had never fought in a war. He had been born in peaceful times. But his parents had taught him to be ready, just in case. All human children learn this, a quiet knowledge kept aside, like a tool rarely used but never thrown away. Back at Earth Command, Sunmi met with her top officers. The room was large with a big table in the middle. Above the table, images of ships and planets floated in the air. "The Tellurians will attack here next," she said, pointing to a bright dot. "Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth's sun. They want the mining operations there." "How do you know?" asked Captain Junho Bei, a serious man with short gray hair. "Because it's what I would do," Sunmi said. "Cut off our resources, then push toward Earth." She moved her hand, and the map changed to show their ships. "We will not wait for them to come to us. We will meet them at Proxima." The officers looked at the plan. Some nodded. A few looked worried. "This is risky," Taewon said. "If we lose these ships, Earth has fewer defenses. If we wait, we lose the chance to surprise them," Sunmi said. "The Tellurians think humans are weak. They think we are afraid. They don't understand what they have started." That night, as the officers left to carry out their orders, Sunmi stayed at the window. She watched Earth turn below her, its lights marking cities and homes. She had sworn to protect those lights, those homes. "They think we forgot," she said softly to herself. "They think that because we chose peace, we forgot war." On the other side of the galaxy, in the great halls of the Tellurian Empire, Supreme Aggressor Zithvar stood before the Emperor. Zithvar was proud of his attack on the human colonies. It had been clean and quick. Now he planned the next wave. "The human response is small, as we expected," Zithvar said. "They have few warships. Their colonies are weak." The Emperor, larger than other Tellurians with gold plates on his shell, clicked his approval. "They were fools to settle so close to our space," the Emperor said. "Take their mining worlds next, then push toward their homeworld. They will surrender, quickly." "Yes, Emperor," Zithvar said, bowing. "The humans talk of peace at the council, but they beg for mercy in private messages." This was a lie. The humans had sent no such messages. But Zithvar knew what the Emperor wanted to hear. The war would bring him glory and a higher place in the Empire. The humans were just stepping stones. If only he could have seen what was happening on Earth and its colonies. If only he could have seen the ships growing in number each day. If only he could have seen Min-ho teaching young volunteers how to fight, or Do-hyun preparing defenses around the fields of New Seoul. If only he could have seen Admiral Sunmi Park standing before her fleet, eyes steady as she gave the order. "All ships, prepare to jump to Proxima Centauri. The Tellurians want to see what humans can do in war. Let's show them." Supreme Aggressor Zithvar stood tall on the bridge of his command ship, the Tellurian Glory. Around him, other Tellurians worked at control stations. Their green shells gleamed in the dim light. Their many-fingered hands moved quickly over screens. "Time, until we reach the human mining world?" Zithvar asked. 2 hours, Supreme Aggressor," replied Navigation Officer Kurzat. "Our scouts report minimal defenses. The humans do not expect us." Zithvar made a pleased clicking sound. This would be another easy victory. The human mining operations on Proxima Centauri III were rich with rare metals the Empire needed. Soon they would belong to the Tellurians. "Prepare the drop ships," Zithvar ordered. "I want boots on the ground within 3 hours of arrival. The mining equipment must not be damaged." "Yes, Supreme Aggressor." Zithvar looked at the large screen showing his battle group. 30 warships, the pride of the Tellurian fleet. The humans had nothing that could stand against such power. But at that moment, something strange happened. The ship's alert system began to sound. "What is that?" Zithvar demanded. The sensor officer looked confused. "Energy readings, Supreme Aggressor, many ship appearing from nowhere." "Impossible," Zithvar said. "No one can be here. Show me." The main screen changed. What Zithvar saw made his mandibles click in surprise. Ships. Human ships. At least 30 of them, where moments before there had been empty space. They had appeared all around the Tellurian fleet like hunters surrounding prey. "How did they get here?" Zithvar demanded. "How did they know we were coming?" Before anyone could answer, a message came through on all channels. A human face appeared on the screen. It was a female, wearing a dark uniform with gold markings. Her black hair was pulled back tightly, and her eyes were hard. "This is Admiral Sunmi Park of the Earth Defense Force," she said. Her voice was calm but carried a warning. "You are in violation of human space. Withdraw immediately." Zithvar hissed in anger. "Open a channel," he ordered. When the connection was made, he spoke with all the authority of his position. "This is Supreme Aggressor Zithvar of the Tellurian Empire. You are outnumbered and outgunned, human. Surrender your mining world, and we may let your ships leave safely." The human's expression didn't change. "You attacked our colonies without warning. You killed our people. We will not surrender anything to you." Her eyes seemed to look directly at Zithvar. "This is your only warning. Leave now, or face the consequences." Zithvar slammed his armored fist on the arm of his command chair. "The Tellurian Empire does not take orders from lesser species. All ships, attack formation. Show these humans the might of the Empire." The Tellurian ships began to move, forming into their battle lines. The human ships didn't move. "They just sit there," said Weapons Officer Tralvik. "They must be frozen in fear." But Zithvar was not so sure. Something felt wrong. The humans should be running. Why were they not running? "Fire when ready," he ordered, pushing down his doubts. The Tellurian ships launched their first attack wave, bright energy beams cutting across space toward the human vessels. What happened next would be studied in war colleges across the galaxy for years to come. Just before the Tellurian weapons reached them, the human ships moved. Not in panic, but in perfect coordination. They slipped between the energy beams with precision that seemed impossible. Then they attacked. On the bridge of her flagship, the EDF Resilient, Admiral Sunmi watched the battle unfold. Her face showed no emotion, but inside she felt a deep sadness. War had come again to humanity, despite all their efforts for peace. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Echo," she ordered. "Target their weapon systems and engines. I want disabled ships, not destroyed ones." Lieutenant Ji Young Kang sat at the controls of her small, fast attack ship, the Swift Strike. She was young but skilled, with quick hands and quicker thinking. As the Admiral's orders came through, she pushed her ship forward, diving toward a Tellurian cruiser. "Swift Strike to all points, I'm going in," she called to the other ships in her strike group. "Cover my approach." Ji Young's ship darted through space, dodging energy beams and debris. The Tellurians fired again and again, but could not hit the small, agile craft. She reached the cruiser and released a precise strike against its main weapon array. The array exploded in a flash of light. Across the battlefield, human ships moved with shocking speed and coordination. They attacked in patterns the Tellurians had never seen before, hitting weak points the Tellurians didn't know they had. On the tier, Tellurian glory alarms blared. Zithvar watched in growing horror as ship after ship reported damage. "This is impossible," he said. "Their weapons, they're cutting through our shields." "Supreme Aggressor," called the communications officer. "The deadly spine and the Emperor's fist are not responding. 3 more ships report critical damage." Zithvar couldn't believe what was happening. These were not the humans he had been told about. These humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. "Fall back," he ordered. "Regroup at Point Delta." But before his ships could retreat, the humans changed tactics again. Now they targeted engines, leaving more Tellurian ships unable to move. On the swift strike, Ji Young faced a sudden problem. Her weapons system was hit by Tellurian fire. Red warnings flashed across her control panel. Swift strike to command. Weapons offline, she reported. Returning to... A massive Tellurian destroyer appeared in front of her, blocking her escape route. Its weapons turned toward her small ship. Ji Young's mind raced. She had no weapons. She couldn't outrun the larger ship with her damaged engines. But she still had one option. Swift strike to command. Executing maneuver Sunburst, she said. Before anyone could respond, Ji Young did something no Tellurian would ever consider. She overloaded her ship's power core, then ejected it directly at the Tellurian destroyer. As the core flew toward the enemy ship, she fired her emergency thrusters, pushing her damaged vessel away. The power core hit the destroyer and exploded with enormous force. The Tellurian ship's shields collapsed and its hull cracked open. Ji Young's escape pod shot away from her destroyed ship, already sending out a rescue beacon. Admiral Sunmi watched this with grim approval. "Send a recovery team for Lieutenant Kang," she ordered, "and prepare boarding parties for the disabled Tellurian vessels." The battle had lasted less than 3 hours. When it ended, 25 Tellurian ships were disabled or destroyed. Only 5 managed to escape, including Zithvar's damaged command ship. The supreme aggressor sat in stunned silence as his ship limped away from the battlefield. His perfect record, his unquestioned rise in the Empire, all now in ruins. "Send word to the Emperor," he finally said, his voice hollow. The humans are not what we thought." 2 days later, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. News of the battle had spread across the stars. The Tellurian Empire, feared for its military might, had been defeated by the humans, the peaceful newcomers who had seemed so harmless just days before. Ji-ho Kim once again stood before the council, but this time the room was silent. All eyes watched him with new interest, and perhaps a new fear. "The Tellurian Empire has seen what happens when they attack humans," Ji-ho said, simply. "We are still open to peaceful resolution, but make no mistake, we will defend ourselves, and we remember how." The great chamber of the Galactic Council was more crowded than it had ever been. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy had come to hear what would happen next. The news of the human victory over the Tellurian fleet had traveled faster than light itself, carried by worried voices and urgent messages. In the center of the chamber, the emergency council of 5 senior representatives sat at a round table. They came from the oldest and most respected species in the galaxy. Today they all looked troubled. Ambassador Valshara of the Varaxians rose to speak. The old alien's blue skin seemed paler than usual, and the white hair that floated around its head moved slowly, showing its concern. "We have called this emergency meeting to discuss the conflict between the Tellurian Empire and the Human Alliance," Valshara said. "What began as a border dispute has become something much more serious." On the main screen, images appeared of the battle at Proxima Centauri. The council watched as human ships moved with frightening precision, systematically disabling the Tellurian fleet. "The humans have demonstrated military capabilities far beyond what was previously known," Valshara continued. "This is concerning." From the Tellurian section, a new representative stood. Supreme Aggressor Zithvar had been replaced after his defeat. This new speaker was smaller, with lighter green plates and careful movements. "The humans attacked our peaceful fleet without warning," the Tellurian claimed. "They used hidden weapons and forbidden tactics. They cannot be trusted." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Many species looked toward the human section, where Ji-ho Kim sat quietly. Beside him was a new face, Lieutenant Ji Young Kang, her arm still in a healing unit after her escape pod had been recovered. Ji-ho stood slowly. The room fell silent. "The records of the battle have been shared with all members of this council," he said calmly. "They clearly show that the Tellurian fleet entered human space with weapons ready. They clearly show Admiral Park offering a chance to withdraw. They clearly show who fired first." He looked around the room, meeting many different kinds of eyes. "What They also show us that humanity has not revealed all of its capabilities to this council. This was our choice, our right. We came to the stars in peace, but we were not naive. The representative from the Meldarian collective, a hive mind species that looked like tall insects with golden shells, raised a limb to speak. "We have reviewed the battle footage extensively," the Meldarian said, its voice a harmonious blend of many tones. "The humans could have destroyed the entire Tellurian fleet. Instead, they disabled ships where possible and limited loss of life." "Why?" Jiho nodded at the question. "Because the goal of war should always be peace. Destroying their fleet would have created a blood debt that would make peace harder to achieve." This answer seemed to surprise many in the chamber. War that aimed at peace? It was not a common idea among the stars. At the back of the chamber, a very old being watched with interest. Chronicler Zumba of the Ziraji was among the oldest living beings in the galaxy. The Ziraji were known for their long lives and their perfect memories. Zumba had seen many species rise and fall over thousands of years. "I wish to address the council," Zumba said, his voice thin but strong. The chamber grew even quieter. When a Ziraji chronicler spoke, all listened. "I have observed many species discover faster than light travel and join this community of stars," Zumba said. "But humans are different in ways that many of you do not understand." Zumba moved slowly to the center of the chamber, joining the emergency council at their table. His body was small and frail-looking, but his large eyes held deep wisdom. "Most species evolve as specialized hunters or prey," he explained. "The Tellurians evolved from ambush predators, the Varaxians from herd grazers, the Meldarians from colonial insects." He turned slowly, looking at the humans. "Humans evolved as persistence hunters," he said. "They were not the strongest or the fastest. They had no natural weapons, but they could keep going when others had to stop. They could solve problems in new ways when old ways failed. They could adapt faster than any other species on their world." Zumba activated the main screen again. It showed human history, primitive humans chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, early human wars, modern human conflicts, and finally, their expansion to the stars. "Most importantly," Zumba continued, "humans evolved to cooperate in ways few species can match. They can form groups that think and act as one without losing individual creativity. This makes them formidable." Around the chamber, representatives shifted uncomfortably. "The Tellurian Empire made a grave mistake," Zumba said, looking at the Tellurian representative. "They saw the humans' desire for peace as weakness. They did not understand that humans chose peace after mastering war." On the other side of the galaxy, the Tellurian Emperor sat in his war room. Reports from the front lines kept coming in, and none of them were good. "They've taken the Crescent system?" the Emperor asked, his voice sharp with disbelief. General Kaztur, who had replaced Zithvar, bowed his head. "Yes, Emperor. The human fleet arrived 3 days ago. They disabled our defense platforms before we could respond." "And Outpost Zeta 9? "Captured yesterday. The humans landed ground forces." Kaztur hesitated. "Our soldiers report that the humans fight, strangely." "Explain," the Emperor demanded. "They adapt, Emperor. If one tactic doesn't work, they try another immediately. They don't follow normal battle patterns, and they keep coming. Even when injured, they keep fighting." The Emperor's chambers grew quiet. This was not how war was supposed to go. The Tellurian Empire had stood for 1,000 years. It had defeated many enemies. How could these newcomers, these humans, push them back so easily? "What of our fleet at Tau Ceti?" the Emperor asked. "Engaged with human forces now," Kaztur replied. "We await news." As if on cue, a messenger rushed into the chamber. "Emperor, the Tau Ceti fleet reports heavy losses. The humans have new ships, bigger than before. They're pushing toward the inner systems." The Emperor's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among Tellurians. "How? How have they built so many ships so quickly?" Back at the Galactic Council, Jiho received an update on his small computer. He read it quickly, then stood to address the council again. I have just received word that human forces have secured the Crescent System and Outpost Zeta 9, he announced. We continue to push into Tellurian space. We will not stop until we reach their throne world. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. The Tellurian representative clicked in alarm. You cannot! The throne world is sacred space. Then the Emperor should consider the peace terms we have offered, Jiho replied. Return of stolen resources, reparations for lives lost, and those responsible for the initial attacks to face justice. The Ziraji chronicler Zumba watched this exchange with ancient eyes. He had seen many conflicts, but the speed of the human advance was unprecedented. Now you begin to understand, he said quietly to the emergency council. This is why every species should dread the day humans go to war, not because they are cruel, not because they love violence, but because once committed to war, they pursue it with a focus and adaptability that few can match. He looked at Jiho Kim, standing tall and calm amid the chaos of the chamber. And the most frightening thing of all? They can stop just as suddenly as they begin. They can return to peace as easily as they go to war. By choice. Across the stars, millions of beings watched their news feeds and worried. The peaceful humans had revealed themselves to be warriors unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Now everyone wondered the same thing. What would happen when they reached the Tellurian throne world? The Tellurian throne world looked like a giant green jewel from space. Its 3 moons circled it slowly, each one home to defense stations that had protected the planet for centuries. But today, those defenses stood silent. Around the planet, a fleet of human ships held position, their weapons quiet but ready. On the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Sunmi Park looked at the beautiful world below. After 1 month of fighting, they had reached the heart of the Tellurian Empire. It had been faster than anyone expected, even the humans themselves. All landing craft ready, Admiral, reported Commander Taewan. Ground teams are prepared, Sunmi nodded. And the palace defenses? Our scans show they're still active, but we can disable them with precision strikes. Sunmi turned to the large screen where the Tellurian Emperor's face was displayed. The once proud ruler looked tired. His green shell had lost some of its shine, and his mandibles moved slowly when he spoke. You have won, human, the Emperor said. The Tellurian Empire surrenders. Around the bridge, the human officers remained professional, but a sense of relief filled the air. The war could end today. We accept your surrender, Sunmi replied. As agreed, you will turn over those responsible for the attacks on our colonies. You will pay reparations for lives lost, and you will respect human borders going forward. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. And then your ships will leave our space? Yes. We did not come to conquer, only to defend. This answer seemed to surprise the Emperor. He had expected the humans to take territory, to occupy the throne world, to extend their power. That was what any other species would do after such a victory. Landing teams will arrive at the coordinates we sent, Sunmi continued. Please ensure they are met peacefully. 2 hours later, human ships descended through the atmosphere of the Tellurian throne world. They landed not with bombs and fire, but with careful precision. From the ships came soldiers in protective gear, but their weapons were not raised. Lieutenant Ji Young Kang led one of these teams. Her arm had healed, and she had asked to be part of this mission. She wanted to see the end of the conflict she had fought in. Stay alert, she told her team as they walked toward the grand palace of the Tellurians. But remember, we're here to make peace, not more war. Inside the palace, the transfer of prisoners happened quickly. 5 high-ranking Tellurians, including former Supreme Aggressor Zithvar, were handed over to human custody. They would face trial for the colony attacks. Meanwhile, in a large meeting hall, Admiral Sunmi and the Emperor signed the peace treaty. The terms were firm but fair. There would be no occupied territories, no ongoing tribute, only reparations for what had been destroyed and guarantees of future peace. When it was done, the Emperor looked at Sunmi with new understanding. You could have taken much more, he said quietly. Why didn't you? Sunmi's face remained calm, but her eyes were serious. Because the purpose of war is peace. We fought to end fighting, not to start an empire. On Earth, Do-hyun Choi worked in his fields on New Seoul Colony. The news of the victory had reached them that morning. Around him, other colonists celebrated. They were safe now. The war was over. Will you go back to the defense force? His wife Soo-jin asked as they walked home that evening. Do-hyun shook his head. No, they don't need me now. The soldiers will come home, the ships will power down, and we'll go back to building rather than fighting. Just like that? Soo-jin asked. After everything that happened? That's what we do, Do-hyun said simply. We turn plowshares into swords when we must, and swords back into plowshares when we can. Across human space, millions of others were doing the same thing. The massive war machine that had awoken so quickly was already beginning to quiet down. Factories returned to making civilian goods. Ships were repurposed for exploration and trade. Soldiers became farmers and teachers and doctors again. At the Galactic Council, one final meeting was held about the conflict. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to hear the terms of peace. Many were still shocked by how quickly the humans had won. Ji-ho Kim stood before them, looking tired but relieved. The war between humanity and the Tellurian Empire is over, he announced. Peace has been restored. From the Meldarian section, a representative raised a limb. We have observed that human military vessels are already standing down. Is this wise? The Tellurians might rebuild and seek revenge. We will maintain necessary defenses, Ji-ho replied, but we will not live in a constant state of war. That is not our way. The Zerigi chronicler Zumba, who had watched the entire conflict with ancient eyes, moved to the center of the chamber. I wish to record something for the Great Archive, the old alien said. All fell silent, for entries in the Zerigi archive were considered the most accurate history in the galaxy. Let it be known, Zumba began, that in the year 2487 by human counting, the species known as humans demonstrated why they are unique among the stars. Not because they won a war, many species have won wars, but because of how they won, and more importantly, how they ended it. The ancient being looked around the chamber. Most species fight for territory, resources, or power. Humans fight to stop fighting. Most species, once fully engaged in war, cannot easily return to peace. Humans can. This makes them the most dangerous and the most hopeful species among us. After the council meeting, Ji-ho met with a small group of representatives who had requested a private word. They came from different worlds and looked nothing alike, but they all shared the same concerned expression. Ambassador Kim, said the Varaxian delegate, we must ask, how did humanity build so many ships so quickly? How did you hide such military capability from the rest of us? Ji-ho smiled slightly. We didn't hide anything. We simply maintained the knowledge of how to build quickly when needed. Every human child learns history, including how our ancestors once turned entire industries to war production in just months. But that readiness, said another delegate, it suggests you expected war. We hoped for peace, Ji-ho corrected. We prepared for war. There's a difference. The representatives exchanged glances. This way of thinking was alien to them. Most species specialized. They were either warriors or diplomats, conquerors or traders. Humans seemed to be able to switch between these roles at will. That evening, as Ji-ho prepared to return to Earth, he met with chronicler Zumba one last time. The ancient alien had requested a meeting on one of the quiet observation decks overlooking the stars. You have given the galaxy much to think about, Ambassador, Zumba said. That wasn't our intention, Ji-ho replied. We just wanted to be left in peace. Zumba's large eyes blinked slowly. And that is why they will dread you now. Dread us? Ji-ho frowned. But we've made peace. We've shown restraint. Yes, Zumba agreed. And that is most frightening of all. You are warriors who prefer not to fight. Conquerors who do not wish to conquer. You have power, but restrain it. The galaxy has never seen anything like humans before. Ji-ho looked out, At the stars, thinking of Earth, so far away but always home. "We just want to build, explore, and live in peace," he said simply. "I believe you," said Zumba. "And I hope the rest of the galaxy does too, because now they know what happens on the day humans go to war, and they will never forget." Across the stars, life continued. Ships moved between worlds. Trade resumed. But something had changed in how the galaxy viewed humans. They were no longer seen as just the peaceful newcomers. Now they were understood as something more complex, a species that had mastered both war and peace and chosen peace, and that perhaps was the most powerful position of all.